That's right! Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
Jacob Wile, too.
And welcome to the third project recap for So You Want to Be an Imagineer Season 16. Purists versus Innovators. Innovators. Oh god. Jacob, your mic is getting apocalyptic. I don't know. You're having some mic issues. I don't know what's up.
How is it? I mean,
okay, now it's fine. But remember during the Disney debates when you suddenly got the voice of God?
No, I remember.
All right. Well, we'll just go with it. We'll just go with it. So, how the heck are you tonight, Jacob?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. Especially because we have two quality projects to review tonight. Two very, very good projects that I can't wait to talk about.
Me neither.
All right, so this round was called Virtually Magic Kingdoms. On the Purist side of things, they were asked to create a pre-Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger spin e-ticket attraction that utilized a specific gameplay mechanic. So essentially, it was another version of Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger spin. The Purist went with the TRON Light Cycle Chase. And then on the Innovators side of things...
Oh,
yeah. And then on the seems like we're on the Innovator side of things, we were asked to come up with a Nintendo Switch game, an open world Nintendo Switch game based around the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
So, all right, Jacob. I don't know. There seems to be a little bit of a delay on your end, Jacob. I don't know what to do about that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just doing my best with what I got here.
Yeah, I know. I'm doing my best too. Well, sorry about that, folks. All right, Jacob, what did you think about the Team Purist TRON Light Cycle attraction?
I was quite impressed by how well thought out it was, and really clever use of the franchise. I guess
this was something that I know I was following along the brainstorming, and they had some problems trying to decide the exact ride system for it. But honestly, I think the ride system worked out really well. It's a bit ambitious, yes, and that affected my realism score. But it's darn creative.
I have to admit, yeah, like it would be kind of hard to pull that off the way they described.
I mean, especially if it's like 1998. That's like the date is the one thing that's kind of keeping me from giving it like a 9 out of 10 when it comes to realism. But overall, Jacob, I tell you, I love how this basically feels like a video game, though. Like from top to bottom, this is an experience. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily a dark ride. It sets itself apart from being a passive dark ride experience or even like a thrill ride experience like Indiana Jones Adventure, and becomes something that's just purely a combat-driven ride, which I think is really exciting.
And like I said, under my creativity, it's like makes me wonder why there isn't a ride based on Tron already.
Well, there is a ride based on Tron, Jacob.
Not in the United States, there isn't, is there?
Well, there is one coming, but there's the Tron light cycles in Shanghai.
Oh, there you go.
Hold on, I'll pull up a video of it actually, so you can kind of get a compare and contrast. The Tron light cycles are essentially just a launched roller coaster where. What I really love about this, the inspired thing about this to me was I thought it was so clever how you don't have any drops in this, because of course you want it in a light cycle. That's the whole point of the light cycle. It's all about building the walls.
And it was really clever how they incorporated that aspect of it too. How they worked the scoring system into all this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can tell it was just really well thought out, really well labored. I
That's
know. Go ahead.
That's why I gave detail such a high grade.
Yeah, hold on. Let's hold off on the scores for just a second because, folks, first of all, let me just warn you, this is going to be a quicker podcast because, only 2 projects, so not a lot to talk about in terms of just sheer volume of content, but obviously I meant for it to be that way to a certain extent. So I apologize if this podcast ends up going short. We're going to try our very best to go a full half hour on it, maybe a little longer, but, I think I don't want to force it. You know what I mean? I don't want to be like, okay, let's just stretch out the conversation as much as we can.
Yeah.
So I'm sure the next round, I'm sure we'll have a lot more to talk about with because it's going to be back to the everyman for himself point of view. But Jacob, let me actually pull up a video of the Tron light cycles. They're let's see, they're at Shanghai Disney, and then I believe they're going to, correct me if I'm wrong, folks, but I believe the Tron light cycles are going to be in Stitch's Great Escape. They're going to be in somewhere in Tomorrowland at the Magic Kingdom.
Surprised they didn't move to the United States first. I'm dead. I don't know how popular, then again, I don't know how popular Tron is in Shanghai.
I would actually think that Tron would be a little more popular with an Asian market.
That makes sense.
And plus, the Asian parks get all the coolest stuff, Jacob. Don't you know that?
Yep.
Speaking of Asian parks getting the coolest stuff, let's go ahead and... So, Jacob, I just want to kind of talk through this. Of course, this is based on Tron Legacy, like the visual aesthetic of Tron Legacy. Whereas the Tron light cycles would be based on the 80s film. So that would be a difference, of course. But it seems like they have a similar ride vehicle here. If not, I mean, it's not the same, but, it's kind of a similar design. You've got the rows of 2.
Yeah.
Jacob, you've been on Flight of Passage. How similar are these things to the Flight of Passage bikes?
Well, I mean, Flight of Passage, I mean, it just basically you're kind of like straddling a machine, and then it's completely stationary, like stays in one place, and it uses like various effects such as mists and simulate movement.
Oh, that's so weird. That's so weird.
But trust me, the way it looks, it actually does feel like you're descending and flying on a Banshee, though.
Oh, I bet.
Like you can actually feel like.
Okay, so here we go. This ride goes out over the queue right here. There's like the entrance area to the ride and everything.
Oh, this kind of looks like Space Mountain on Tron steroids.
It is Space Mountain on Tron steroids, Jacob. Just you wait. Right now. See Space Mountain on Tron steroids.
I can definitely see that.
But that's the thing. I actually kind of prefer the Purist project to this. I mean, obviously, this is something tangible. We know what it is. The Team Purist project is something where it's like, it'll never happen because this is supposed to be taking place in 1998. And obviously, it wasn't built in 1998 and timelines and butterfly effects and whatnot. But I don't know. Like you said, like we hit on, I kind of like the idea that there's a lot more of a competitive edge to the Team Purist project. Whereas this is more just, like we said, Space Mountain on steroids, which isn't a bad thing. And I'm sure it's a thrilling ride. Don't get me wrong. But, I just can't help but sort of yearn for something that's a little more solid, a little more, a little more based on the competitiveness of what a light cycle actually is.
I can see that.
So Jacob, you want to know a part of the presentation here that I absolutely loved was the part of the queue that overlooked the actual arena, because to me that's really, just like
that part really caught my eye. I mean, to see a light cycle battle in action, that would be so cool.
And to know that that's the actual ride that you're about to go on. Oh
yeah.
Okay.
that would get me pumped.
All right, folks. So, like we said, we're not going to stretch this out too long because it's only 2 projects. I don't even know if we'll go a full half hour on this thing, to tell you the truth. I apologize for that. It's just when you're talking about just, these individual presentations, there's not really a whole heck of a lot to go off of. Jacob, let me ask you this. One of the concerns I raised about this when I was doing my reviews is essentially the closest thing we have to this on a much smaller scale is the flying saucers and Luigi's Rollickin' Roadsters, the Luigi's flying tires and then the flying saucers, where it's obviously clearly the Tron thing is a much bigger scale. It's themed and everything, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's still kind of like this. You've got this interactive component to it, and you've got this highly complicated technology to it. And the flying saucers are the most infamous, bad thing that Disney's ever done, because they tried to revive them, and it was just as bad, if not worse, in the form of Luigi's flying tires. So, what do you think? Because that is my concern, and we'll get into the scores soon. But I just kind of want to address that concern I have with you.
I never had never really even heard of the flying tires or flying saucers, so I didn't really have any basis to go on there. But the whole kind of score.
Different. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the flying saucers are essentially bumper cars. The point of comparison I'm making here is that they were very complicated. It was basically like a giant air hockey table, where instead of moving around on an electrical grid like you would on a usual bumper car track, you're moving around like on air. So essentially your cars are being glided around on air, which sounds fun, but in execution, in both designs, it was just kind of a nightmare.
Oh, that's gonna be fun, I guess.
Yeah, Luigi's Rollickin' or I'm sorry, I keep calling it Rollickin' Roadsters. That's the trackless, right, that they replaced the flying tires with. Anyways, so I guess, Jacob, let's get to the scores. Let me pull up my scores really quick. So what do you give it for creativity?
For good use of the franchise, basically, use of the franchise, very, I said, the whole, the queue, how you can look over the various elements from the movie. I gave that a 9 for that.
Okay, I went with an 8 out of 10. Here's the deal, Jacob. Tron is the best franchise you could possibly go with a prompt like this, where it's like, hey, create a gameplay based element. I just think it's kind of like the obvious answer. And don't get me wrong, they do a lot of cool stuff with the obvious answer, but I'm hesitant to give it more than an 8 out of 10, just because Tron, not only in the realm of, it's just Tron, I think, is a go-to thing with Armchair Imagineering in general. Like, we've seen a ton of projects based on Tron, so there's a little bit of IP fatigue when it comes to that. It's almost kind of like Frozen when it comes to that. Not as bad, but
I honestly don't try to hold that against the projects themselves. People keep saying, as long as it works, it works.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, what do you give it for realism?
They went into everything, they did give a lot of reasons, though. I gave that a 9. Appreciate this, especially the extra mile for the safety warning.
Yeah, you are right, Jacob. They did have a lot of good detail in there. We'll get to the detail score. I gave realism an 8, just because there's so many moving parts and there's so many things that could go wrong, and that's the only thing that concerns me. Is I could picture a ride system this complex being a ride system that inevitably breaks down a lot. So that's why I went with an 8 out of 10. It's still a very good score.
I mean, I gave it that because I saw like it was only like it only goes like 15 miles per hour, so it's not going that fast where it's be too much of an issue. I guess I don't know.
I mean, you're not wrong. It's just the speed doesn't necessarily make or break a ride system. It's just like I said, there's a lot of moving parts to this specific ride system, and that's what I'm mostly worried about. Okay. Detail though, Jacob, I gave a solid 10 out of 10 too. I think they covered all their bases here. I don't think they left anything out. I think everything is more than well accounted for.
10 to like, and how everything was neatly explained.
Mm-hmm. Then finally, presentation, Jacob. What do you give it?
Nine out of 10.
9 out of 10. You know what? I don't really know why I didn't give it a 10 out of 10 because I really like all the art.
Like, I've been tied up a bit. I mean, I noticed a few grammar mistakes in grammar here, and though that didn't really knock it down too much. I mean, there's just a few things I felt could have been or done a bit better myself, but that's just me, I guess.
Okay. Speaking of the art, Jacob, let's highlight some of the art. Now, I think this is chalk art, if I'm not mistaken.
Like a black construction paper with or markers. I'm like some construction markers.
You know, Jacob, at first I thought it was black construction paper, but looking at it, like looking at the texture of it, I don't know. It could go either way.
Look
I
like
think
chalk, really. I mean, I guess well, actually, it kind of does. But
well, this looks a lot like
a lot of
chalk to me.
chalk.
This in particular.
Maybe a lot of chalkboard though.
Well, a lot of erasing and then redrawing, I guess.
And then there'd be dust everywhere.
So space, well, I don't know if it's space or I'm assuming it's space because space is the art guy here. Please tell me what method you used for this art. I really like this piece of art in particular. I love the blue building contrasted against Space Mountain. That just looks really nice. All right. Jacob, let's just to give credit where credit's due here on this stuff. I actually do have who did what on these things, so let me get to that right now. Okay, the write-up was done by Ace Astro. Let's see, the brief backstory was done by Jokers. The entrance facade was done by Ace. The write-up sorry. The write-ups were done by a combination of, I'm not going to go through all the categories, but a combination of Ace Astro, Jokers, Space Mountain, Magic Feather. And then in terms of the artwork, Disney Dad did the attraction poster. Space Mountain did everything else. So yeah, I was right. It was Space. So Space, please tell me, how did you do this magical artwork? All right. Any final thoughts on this project, Jacob, before we move on to the next one?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so let's move on to Team Innovators Magic Kingdom. Man, oh man. So, Jacob, this is something that kind of sprung to my head ever since I first played Mario Odyssey. The idea of, first of all, I want an open world Mario game, like something where it's like Odyssey, but on the next level, like where it's all open world. Like imagine Odyssey, but with all the kingdoms connected to each other.
It would be interesting, but I don't know if it would work.
I don't know if it'd be plausible either. It's just something I'd really like to see.
I mean, admittedly, it's easier to translate Zelda into open world than it would be Mario.
Yeah, I guess, but Mario has such a fun moveset to play with, though. Like, I feel like Mario is more fun than Zelda. to just play around with in a sandbox.
Don't get me wrong, it would be pretty cool, but it would be. I mean, I'm sure somebody would find a way to figure it out.
But you're right, Zelda is more about the exploring.
Yep.
So the Magic Kingdom, Jacob, what do you think about the idea of like an open world Magic Kingdom video game, kind of a fictionalized Magic Kingdom environment to roam around in?
I really like the idea of it and all. It's really fun to actually see it come into fruition.
Yeah, Jacob, this was kind of a dream come true for me, man. I must say, this was this was a lot of fun to see. My ideas for it are a little bit more like outside the box. Like I have a whole bunch of ideas, like each of my lands would have a different haunted mansion, for example. Like you'd have like a Phantom Manor, you'd have a Tower of Terror. Like Space Mountain would be a haunted mansion because it'd be Space Mountain Ghost Galaxy. You know, like different things like that. But no, for what it's worth here, I mean, they do a fantastic job of just I love how this project works around the fact that it doesn't have a ton of detail in it because it is such a clear recreation of a strategy guide. So Jacob, go ahead, yeah. So you're a Kingdom Hearts man, right, Jacob?
Yep.
Tell me, when you were playing Kingdom Hearts, did you play it with the old strategy guides?
I never actually used strategy guides.
Darn it! I was hoping that you'd share my own nostalgia for that because, Jacob, I remember the Kingdom Hearts strategy guides were so fun to flip through because it's like every world would have its own page color. And, you know, they'd have like really detailed, nice descriptions of the boss battles and how to beat the bosses. Oh man, that fun times. I
had to learn myself. I mean, especially since the first game I went into was the second game.
Oh, well, then you're just doing it wrong, my friend, because I think the first game is far superior to the second game, but that's a whole different discussion. Anyways, I feel like I just opened a can of worms there.
Can't wait to see what 3 is going to be like, though.
I just hope that 3 somehow makes its way onto the Switch.
So far, nothing.
I know. I'm just crossing my fingers because I'm not going to buy a PS4, Jacob. I mean, it's already too late in the PS4's lifespan. There's going to be a freaking PS5 soon enough.
Well, we'll see.
All right. Anyways, so yeah, I love how this is such a collect-a-thon, Jacob. I love all the different things to collect in this game.
Oh yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, of course you have the autographs, you have the notes.
And unlike games like DK64, it actually helps that it's all by one person and isn't required to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good example, like a recent example, like a Hat in Time. It's like it's a good collectathon, but it's not overwhelming with what you have to collect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good stuff. What do you think of the idea of Chernobog being the main villain?
Conventional choice, but one that would definitely be very interesting to see in a kind of inspired by what his original role in Kingdom Hearts is going to be.
Well, I like that. I like that Maleficent is kind of like nowhere to be seen because Maleficent, of course, is all over Kingdom Hearts.
Probably, I'm guessing that's probably why they went with Chernobog.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things I really loved in this project is T. Cool's artwork. Because this looks just like a freaking strategy guide, Jacob. It's absolutely impeccable.
They really went all out with these things.
They really did. They really did. And one of my favorite details too is I love how none of them are completely filled out. Like it's always as if you're in the game, like going through the progress.
Yeah, it's like the one thing is this isn't a dark point. I think considering Oswald's the lucky rabbit, I wonder why he doesn't have a 5-star luck stat. I mean, I'd switch magic and luck myself. Lucky
Right.
rabbit.
Right, right.
So, but yeah, everything about this thing was very well thought out.
Mhm.
So,
Sorry, I'm trying to reply to something. Can you riff for a second?
what?
Can you
Everything
riff
about
for a second?
sorry. Yeah, everything about this project. I mean, I really liked a lot about this project. I mean, how we really went into the details and like really thought about how the world was, how the world of the game was going to be fleshed out. And, like how they really incorporated like mapped out the entire Magic Kingdom as like a game world itself and itself. Even as you play, even as you just scroll down, they even went as far as to include DLC.
I love that too, Jacob, by the way. And the DLC to me is super realistic. It's just like, yeah, we got the Star Wars world. There's like a bounty hunter side quest. You can fight Boba Fett. Boba Fett's like a rare costume. It's like, yes, like everything about that I can just totally picture in my mind's eye.
I was like, it's absolutely nothing. just like in the movie.
Oh man. Okay, so wrapping up here, Jacob, I'm talking. Oh, and also I should give credit where credit's due to the people who worked on this. Pie on My Cake, D. Hindley, Disney Man 1, KMB, and T Cool. You guys are all awesome. You did great work.
Big thumbs up, everybody.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, hold on, Jacob. We're about to get into the scores here. I'm trying to kind of juggle a couple things here at once because I'm trying to do scheduling for the next podcast we're gonna do. Sorry about that. So, right. Jacob, how's the Switch working for you?
Switch is working great. It's been working great since I got it when it came out.
Yeah, you've had like a whole year on me to play with it because I got it for Christmas.
It's a fun little system. Has a lot of potential. Even one that has cardboard.
I love the cardboard, but we're going to have a whole podcast about that in the future. Okay, let's get, I mean, not about just the cardboard, about the Nintendo Switch in general, and we can talk about the cardboard.
All right, then.
Okay, so let's get to the scores really quick, Jacob. Creativity, I gave them an 8.5 out of 10.
I usually don't use 0.5s, and I gave them a 9.
9, okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Like I said, beyond the bosses, it seems just as another collectible form with Disney slapped onto it, but that much also distinguished it. That being said, it exists for a reason and fit the mold very well.
All right, realism, I went with a 9.5 out of 10. Honestly, just to kind of like even out the 0.5s, I really shouldn't do 0.5s. They just complicate things. But realism should really be a 10 out of 10 just because of how impeccable it all is.
A 9, I mean, I don't know if that kind of, depending on the scope, I might not be able to work on the Switch. They got, bad, but it's like.
Well, I'm sure if Breath of the Wild can work, this can work.
That's what I mean. But like I said, especially with the Switch's power, it's possible.
Yeah, yeah.
But there might just be. It seems like there just might be too many things to collect. Sometimes they can get too much and too overwhelming. That might be me, but that's why I only knocked it down to a 9.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, what did you give it for detail, Jacob?
10.
You gave it a 10 for detail, really?
Yeah, like
Okay.
I looked over everything. I mean, like I looked in the multiple pages, and
I mean, I gave it a 7 just because I feel like there could have been more there for each individual land. Like, I felt this project had a lot of lists involved in it. You know what I mean? So that's why I gave it a 7. But I mean, if you're giving it a 10, I feel like I'm being a little unfair on it, but I'm not going to change my score. So,
no, I mean it's not that you're being unfair. It's just like I read over and like everything was like very well explained.
okay.
Like I said, the placement of certain things could have been switched around, or there could have been like certain expansions here and there. But other than that, it was like very well done.
All right. And finally, presentation, I gave it a 10 out of 10.
I was
Okay,
like,
fair enough.
like as I pointed out the descriptions, and I love the clever usage of the music.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and just the music in the website as well is just I mean it's so good.
Yeah, I mean I really loved it.
Okay, Jacob, so let's get the heck out of here. Next project is called Roadside Attractions, and on the Pure side of things, they're going to be creating a hypothetical roadside attraction set up by Walt Disney himself. And this roadside attraction is going to be used as a breeding ground for Disneyland. So essentially, like kind of like a stepping stone to Disneyland. Come up with something that Walt Disney hypothetically would have done as the stepping stone to Disneyland. I'm very excited to see what people come up with there. And on the Innovators side of things, Jacob, they're going to be creating a family fun center type of chain for Disney. So basically a spiritual successor to Disney Quest that's hopefully more successful. So those will be turned in Sunday. We'll be back next Monday to review them. Any last words, Jacob?
Nope, with these projects.
All right. Evil Luke Skywalker here, folks. Here to bid you all adieu and say thank you for joining us. Now, if you don't mind me, I'm going to go kill Ben Solo just because it's so much fun. Yeah.